Welcome back to the channel. A few months ago, I built a Google Form clone. Thanks to all of you, I did get a bunch of emails and comments. And a lot of people were asking how would they go about making this into a production app, collecting input from the user, and also why doesn't it look like the real Google Forms? So in this video, I'm going to make a little bit of a style change and have that Google Form theme. And then I'm going to show you how you can collect data and use this form in your own app. As always, I'm going to make sure this is step by step and easy to follow. I'm going to skip a bunch of things that aren't necessary just to make sure that you get what you want out of this. Let's jump in. So I've gone ahead to download a sample image of how the Google Form page looks. As we can see, it's pretty straightforward and easy to do. These are just cards and we can super easy with Tailwind CSS. If we look at the header here, it has rounded corners and seems like the border extends with an indigo color. We have a H1 and then we have a P tag. And for this part, we've already created this component, so we're going to be using it and we'll probably just make a component to house what we have here. So I'm going to make a new route called /form, and that's where we're going to put everything we're building. The reason is so that we don't delete what we have in case people want to see how we got to where we are. And pretty straightforward. I use a helper that can is easy for me, and all I need to do is call this form. And when I save and go back to the browser, we do have the form set up. So to quickly create the form, what we would need to do is make a div. And this div is going to be for our form header. Like I already said, we have h1 tag, we form header. It could actually be any tag, the description, and style this. Give it text 3xl now, and the font should be semi-bold. Doesn't fit down, we can back change it. And for this, I could say maybe text gray 500, opacity of 80%, and I like to say capitalize if I can spell. That's what's going to do this. If I enter this in small letters, it's will capitalize. And if I save this, go back to our browser, we our form beginning to show. And what I want to do is to style the parent. So in the parent, I'm going to say this text, flex volume, BG white, I want it rounded, so I have rounded there. I'll justify that, and I'll justify center, and I'll then start of the space he has, then I'll train some shadow, and the shadow should look. For the border, we did say it might look good. The 800 it's a bit dark, and for the border, let's say size of 4. And it looks good. We need to increase it. Let's double it and better. So T8. And indeed, it looks better. We do have this, it's up. What we could do is we could also, this also close. We could also space it out. Straightforward. We could space Y2. That might take care of it. On the top, what we want to do is we also want to say flex column justify that, and let's say items double the padding on access, and I'll just use H screen for now. And I want it to take up about 90% of the screen space. See how that looks. Save, hit flex column with text, save, and that's it. So it's looking good. We need to give more padding on this. Put it there. Or yeah, it looks good. We might need to space things out. We might need to extend it, but looks good from here. So to do the other part, what I would like to do would be, we could also take this a bit top notch. Let's see if we give it a fixed height, if it's better. What I would like to do is this part, I'm going to create the form and everything. And doing that's pretty simple. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. We already have a working form. I'm going to copy all the functions we need for this to work. And I'm going to throw the function in here. Some my keyboard. And we paste that to what use state. So we'll get use state, and at least that should get us everything we need to have our form working. There's something else I wanted to do, because I know looking at this form, we do have a change where I think the way Google Form works is when you open it, it creates a default untitled question. And if we wanted to do that, the easiest would just be this element to add an item. I'm adding ID. I know there's no ID in the field column, but I'm adding an ID just for the key sake. And if this was coming from your database, you would have an ID or some key, unique key for that question. We'll go to label, and I'll say untitled question. And I'm going to add, I want to introduce a new field for the sake of form validation. I know a couple of people asked what if we wanted to do form validation. So I'll add a field that doesn't exist right now called required. And I'll say false, and I'll add question type. And we'll just use the default we have here, which is short answer. And my keyboard, once again, is short answer. And we have list. That's an array. And to make this easier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be adding required here, saying false. That way, this sort of works in our favor. And before we preview, I want to try something out, and which is come in here and we'll say form content, we'll map it. And just to ensure that we don't have any errors, and then we can go copy our styles and bring them in. So we'll say field and this, and inside this map, we're going to return a div, and our div is going to hold an item. So we'll call this sample, and we'll give it a key. So we have field.id. And see, I have a typo here, so we'll have field.id. And if I save, go back to my form, and indeed we do have sample. So something else I just noticed is that this is closed. We can fix that with space here and say, why not give everything a spacing of 4, for example. And yes, that it does push it a little bit down. All right, click format documents. What isn't working so well. And the next thing we're going to do is going to be literally copying whatever we have here, throwing it in. That's exactly how it's going to work. We don't need to do any extra thing to get it to work. So I'll come in here. I will throw in my content, and I'll click format document, save, and we should have it. So we do have it. It's not properly styled, and it's not going to take a lot to style this. All we have to do is come here, say class, we want it rounded out. So rounded, we want background of white. I'll say flex. I also want it to take up whatever space it has. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to give it a shadow and give it that margin. And I'll hit save. And indeed, we do have it wrapped around. So what we will do next is to have this to the left and this to the right. And that's pretty straightforward to do. And for the other part, which is the question below here, we're just going to say W full. And that should take care of it. That didn't. So what are we missing? We do have a couple things wrapped. So I would like to style this. Say flex column. And I want this to take up whatever space we have here. And let's see. So we already have our form arranged the way it should be. So that gives us everything sort of looking similar. And our form should operate the same way it operates previously. We select the paragraph, that works. We select multi-choice, that works. And we should be able to add options. So option A, click, option B, and it adds. And we already have the style. We should still be able to go edit our question and say untitled test, and that should work. So that works. The next thing we're going to do is to implement sidebar, and that's also pretty easy to do. Well, to get that design, what we need to do is we're going to add another div, and this div is going to hold that. But for this to work, what we need to do is to say this to be should be relative, and that way we can do a fixed height position, absolute positioning for this. And we say class name absolutely positioned. I don't know how far back should be, but what I can do is, let's say, want it to be up. I say 0 for now, and we want it to be right. I'll use 8. It should still be flex, flex column 2, and then center and background so that we can see it, and we give it a padding of 2. We also want it rounded, and I'll throw in a shadow. And all we need to do is I'll use a button so that it's easy and simple for us to implement. And inside this button, I'm going to use an icon from hero icons. So I know we have plus circle icon with hero icons. Then we're going to fix the width and the height, and then it to be I'll use text gray 400. We used 580%, but previously, so we'll use text gray. Let me say hover. If we hover over it, that's a rhyme. Hover over. Say 500, and let's close this. And it's not giving me anything. Import this. So if I can figure out how to import this, this is going to be from hero icons, React, I outline or solid, I'm sure. So say outline for now, see if it works. Save and back to our page. We do have something showing up, and see it here. And yeah, we can adjust, but before we do that, I'll just use this. I'll add, make sure it's functional. So when we click on it, we're going to call add question. And that should be it. Oh, done properly so that it doesn't fire off multiple times. So it adds, at least it works, but now it duplicates itself. And adds works, but it duplicates itself. So what we might want to do is to take it out of this container as a whole and put it to the side. First and foremost, I'll just refresh, have it one. Let's position it properly, and then we can figure out how to move it to another block so that it doesn't duplicate itself over and over. So format document, and we did write 8. Let's say 16 and see if it helps. Thinking we might need to go negative because we're not moving anymore. If we go negative 16, yes, we do have it out and we do have it aligned, but the issue is that's it for everyone. This might be desired in some cases, maybe where every of this field or the menu would have here only applies to the question itself. But in our case, we don't need it that way. So in order to do that, what I might want to do is we already have this part here. I might need to split it up and move our question into another div so that it's all different and not the same. So thinking just have a separate div, and that div wraps around question itself, and then that way they're not direct siblings and replicate every time you do that. But also this is mapping a form content, so we might it out of the form content itself. So we'll see how that works. This here, it's replicating, so that's what we do. It doesn't matter how if we're here. What we need to do is what we need to do is a div here that wraps up everything that we have. And under that div, we would have our question, icon, just hit format. And then our form content sort of wraps inside that. That way we would have everything separated. They share the same parent, but they should be separated. So now we have our form content as a separate item. We'll have our form as a separate item. And what that means is I want to say relative to this and take out relative here. And let's see how that looks. So we need to style. Yes, it's here. It works now, but we'll need to apply a bit of styling to it. So the styling we would apply might be similar to what we already have here. I'm just going to take the, and some reason it doesn't. There we go. So this is not what we wanted, but similar to this. And so instead of flex row, which is default, we'll say flex co. And if we're going to be doing that, then we don't need this. Don't need the shadow on the big one. We probably don't need the background on him. We don't need it rounded. We just need him as the parent. So we have it here. The other thing we need to do is we need to space everything. So we'll call space Y. I don't know how 4 would look. But there you have it. So we do have our form set up in a form set it up. And we have this being padded in and out. It's something we can easily fix by saying we don't want to go in, or if we go in on the parent, then we don't want to child, whichever one works. So this is it. We have the new design, we have the form all working. The next thing, so previewing it is going to be the same. If we wanted to add more icons, let's say on this, we wanted to have more buttons, duplicate this and have different buttons, different icons wired up to different things. And as you can see, they all line up. So pretty easy to make this bar here. And that's it for making it look like a Google design. The next thing we will do is to make this a preview or eventually just submit. We already did a preview in the past where it renders what we want. So I don't think we need to show that again. The other thing I'm going to do is to take whatever this form generates and make a form that we could submit. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to make a new route. And just for lack of name, I'm going to call this submit. And this is the part for people who have asked me to do a form that we could submit. So pretty much the same thing. I'm going to call this submit and click fine. And pretty much in the same vein, the same way we had our form before, we can totally just come here and I'm going to take pretty much the same top part and start off with it. So have this and have it, and we'll go to submit. If we go to submit, we have our form header, we have everything. The other thing we'll do here would be just to render the form. So the same way we had form components here, I'm going to take the same form content and just make a bunch of changes. So we have our form content here. Let's not forget to import use state. So we have use state, which is fine here. What we could do is we could make a whole bunch of questions that we can use here. So just quickly make a bunch of questions. Say, what is your name? And maybe another question. I want to utilize all the different types. So we have the first one, what is your name? I could say describe yourself, and we make use of the next question type, which is the paragraph. And then try to change the IDs. And what we could do is we could say for our other question, we could say, what is your favorite color? What is your favorite color? And for this, we're going to say multi-choice. And this would use all our question types. So we have red, green, blue. So which of the RGB colors are your favorite color? We have that. So now we have 3 sets of questions. And the next step is pretty similar to what we've done before. We're just going to render the same set of content. So might as well just come here, take everything we have here and go to our submit, and let's see how it looks. Some things might be broken, but that's fine. If we go back to index, we did have the original design we did have where we rendered this. So this is what I meant to take. I meant to take form content from our previous display and just render the same form content. I'm going to do anything extra, take same form content, render it, grab this that it knows, and maybe might do a couple editing, but we'll see. So I'll format this document, hit save, go look at it in our browser. So it doesn't look like much. And what we can begin to do is we can apply some proper style and arrange it, put it side by side. Yeah, we'll see how it looks. So first thing, I realized we don't have a key. So we'll say field.id. That takes care of that. For class name, we're going to say visual, rounded, medium, white background. We want it flex. We want some spacing. Take up the entire space and in a shadow. See how that looks. So refresh this. So we do have it. The next thing we want to do is flex column so everything stays on lines, and get to see how simple and straightforward this is. So flex column, and so we have our questions. And the other thing we might want to do is to add a submit button, and we have a form. So under here, everything, all we want to do is submit button. Straightforward, the same way we created a button previously, button, and call it submit. We might want to style it. Say class name, say flex. Maybe we want 2 buttons, a clear and do not clear. I'll just say this. And for class name for the button, make it a bright button that everyone can see. We'll say 500. Give it some padding. We want white text. Keyboard is going crazy. Okay. Get it. Yeah, that's that. Some people like to round their buttons, which is fine. Some people like it the width. That's also fine. Say text small. And for some reason my button doesn't. So I'll go back to this. And I had flex. I had supposed to space everything. Why are we not? Don't have flex go, justify start, items, we're saying H screen, profile for page. It's weird. Our button will not show up. I'll inspect this to see if our button is even rendered. We do have our button is rendered. It's here. Reason it doesn't show. Oh, I have IPO because of my key. So it gives padding 444 instead of a padding 4. It's weird. And what else is wrong? So the flex, justify between, fill up the space. text should be white, button should be, I said button indigo instead of BG indigo. And here we have it. So we have a button. We didn't specify a type, so nothing would happen. But to make this a form, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I could as well just come here, change this div to a form component, a form element, and I can say on submit on a function. I could make the function later. I'll say submit form, and that's it. For my button, I could say the type should be submit. That is it. On submit, we'll call this function called submit form, which I haven't made and I'll have to make that form. We'll go ahead and make that form. So we say constant submit form equals submit form. And that's literally it. And what we could do is we expect that event, and just to make sure the page doesn't really going to say e dot event default. And this just prevents the default action for form submit, which is to try to make a post request and render the page. And the simplest way to get content out of this would be, say, for example, just look through everything we have on this form. Let's say we wanted to get it here, we could just look through and look through our questions and use the elements to find it. So we'll look through our question and get values based on the element. That's it. So to get that, I could say form targets, for example, and for our form target, we just say e.target. Since our form has a target, and I could save the values to a data set, all we need to do is go through our form content, right? Go through our form content, map it, and take whatever content we get out of it. And we could find it. So we could say, let's say element. So we need to figure out how are we getting our element out of this. Is our element going to be the content label or not? And that reminds me, we need to ensure that our labels are properly set. So if we go to our question, look at the question type, what we want to ensure is that we look at this, the label for each of the question type for the inputs we have. We want to make sure we set the name. So right now we didn't set the name, we didn't set anything, and that's not nice. And set the name. If we want, our name can be the label names. Label. I'm not sure how we named our labels here, but we look at it, and we have the label have spaces in them, so we could make a simple helper function which are called capitalize. We have that function somewhere, so I'm just put it. So I have multiple codes open from previous videos I made. It's fine. So we'll go import it. And all I want to do is say convert this if it's equal. And what I'll come here and say is the name should also be the same. So assign the name. The caramelize function, all it does is it takes a set of string and it converts it into camel case. That's basically what it does. So for all our fields, we're going to say name. We want it to make the name into camel case. Do this for every single item we have here. It's just going to make it camel case. So everything as camel case, and then now we can go back to our submit function. And what we want to do is look at this and say the element name should be equal to the camel case version, and we'll use the element name to pick it out. So what we'll do is we can say add into our data. Want to add new object. The question So we already know the question, which is our content.label. And our answer will be easy. So we'll say our answer, so whatever the person answered, and for some reason I can't type. Answer is going to be, we have form targets. So we'll just look into the form target, look for the element with the element name that caramelized, and its value. And pretty much that should be it. What we could do here is we could do console log and get our form data. And there's also nothing stopping us, since we're using Next.js, from making a post request and creating an API here, say submit, and instead we just take all our answers and everything and post it to the API and call it in our database. If we also have a backend server, we could also just do that with everything we're getting here and post to our backend server, and the server would handle it. So let's see if this works. Fresh, I'll open up the inspector and go to console. So what is my name? Really, and I didn't change this. It was supposed to be describe yourself. So that's going to give us, let's see what it, so if we submit, we get 3 objects. So that's it. And for some reason, we get answer green. We don't get these 2. And the reason why is because we have the same label and a trade off, but that's totally fine. We can do this by saying, describe yourself. Describe yourself. Describe is yourself. And if we go back, fresh, say what is your name, and we say Billy. They describe yourself, and we say I am Billy. And instead of this, we say green, submit. So you do get it. Get Billy, I am really green. And that's really it. So let me know if there's anything you want to see me do, and we're happy to make a video about it. However, also this code will be available on GitHub. So if you want it, feel free to grab it and take a look. Thank you.